Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Love Learns. We're back again with another season. As I told you guys in the previous season, in the outro, there was a lot of change happening towards the end of the last season. In true form, we have a new location, which I mentioned in the previous episode, that we're moving to Bank. So I'm currently in Bank on Thursday evenings, and this is the Bank location, guys. It feels a lot more homey as well, just like Cura, but I get to meet you guys at this reception and bring you up, and it's nice to just have a little bit of a different space. I'm looking forward to kind of inviting you guys into this space. As you know, I said I was going to be watching the Love is Blind UK series whilst I was on break, and did it disappoint? No, it didn't. It was one of my favorite seasons, actually, and I think it was my favorite season because it felt like most of the contestants were actually there for love. Maybe a few that slipped through the net that wanted a little bit of clout, but all in all, I felt like the season was a little bit older, so knew that they wanted marriage or was ready for marriage. Some will say differently, but it felt like a good season to watch if you're really watching it for the romantic side of things and the development of love. But yeah, I really enjoyed the season, but it didn't switch off my therapist's mind whilst watching it. There was a lot of things that I was thinking about and looking for that I was like, oh, this might be a good segue to help people learn a little bit more about their relationship styles. So I'm really, really, really excited to kind of gloss it over with you guys and have comments with you guys. So if you do have any interesting comments or anything about the season and anything you want me to talk about in this series, please put it in the comments below. But everything that we are seeing is the show, guys, and I just want people to remember that this has been edited to tell a story in a way that it's been edited, but it's also how they reacted to things. So we will see how this all plays out, but there are going to be spoilers in this because I've watched from the first episode all the way to the reunion, and I've also watched a few of the interviews that the cast had with other platforms, just to give their point of view, and I'm looking forward to just like breaking some of these things down and exploring with you guys. But the first ever episode that I want to do is the fear of commitment. So if you've watched the season, you know exactly who I'm talking about. You'd know exactly who I'm talking about because they were one of the main characters, not main characters, but main characters in a triangle that was on the show. And that person is Benaiah, guys. I remember when I was reading his profile with my sister, I said to my sister, I think this guy has commitment issues or is running away from something because it just seemed like he didn't want to like commit to something because he was traveling all over the place, was single for 10 years. So it did give me alarm bells because I thought it's going to be one of two things. It's either he's going to come into the pods with extremely high standards and not commit, or he is going to come into the pods, fall in love, but be very hesitant with where he's going with it. So it wasn't surprising to me how his journey played out, but it was something that I felt like was something to talk about. And it was from the very first episode of him and Nicole when they were talking about where he lives, and he said he lived in Preston, but at the moment he hasn't lived there for a while because he's kind of a structural landscaper, so he just classes himself as homeless. And she was like, what do you mean? Very brave, she says. And when she said that, I was kind of like, Nicole, you're being very polite, which is a very usual sign of the UK public, population. They try to be very polite when it comes to things like this, rather than saying, so what are you doing here? Which I know if someone had said that on that American show, it would have been a complete write-off. Like, there was, no. Regardless of what you're saying, everything would have been like downhill from there. Considering what I see on the American shows, this is just my opinion. But she gave him the benefit of the doubt and allowed him to explain himself. And when he did explain himself, he said that he kind of moves from one place to another, depending on where he's working, which made me think, oh, he's still not settled. He's still like on the move kind of thing. So if he did get married, where would they live? What would that look like? How would he still manage to balance staying with someone and also keeping his autonomy and his freedom? So those are the kinds of questions that I was thinking of in my head if I was on a date with him. But it seemed like him and Nicole had very similar ideas of what they wanted their future to be, which from the way Nicole was speaking, she wanted a bit of a like detached life from like, yeah, a bit of a detached life, and she could see herself trying to figure out how that looked like with Benaiah. So it was pretty much sold on the idea of, oh, okay, what's that going to look like for us and how's that going to be? But that's cool. That's a very brave way to live, which she I think always inspired to live that way, but never had the opportunity to do so. So it was a match on that sense. But I don't think he matched with anyone else because of that comment of him being homeless technically. But it was an interesting journey for them because of his lack of commitment, he kind of got in his own way. When we go to the reunion, we see his reaction to the date, and considering they had just spoken about like body, mind and soul in that date, I thought that he would kind of listen to his body, because his body was doing a lot of talking in the show when he had his dates with Nicole, but he kept on allowing his mind to overthink and rationalize what was going on, which put him back in the seat of, oh God, what if this is too good to be true? And he does say it in the reunion, like he sees that reaction and now he feels like stupid for not going with his like reaction and how he felt at that time. But he had a sense to kind of to rationalize himself out of that situation by saying, what if this is too good to be true? Which, yes, it could be, because we see that happening with Nicole and Sam. But in this case, his body was telling him, his gut instinct was telling him this is a good match, and he didn't explore it a little bit more, but got scared about making that commitment. And if he had just said to Nicole in that moment, like, I'm really enjoying our conversations and I have the best time with you, but I need more information, I'm sure she would have allowed him to get more information. Like she would have asked the questions like, what kind of information do you need to make that decision? But it sounded like he was still looking at other options, which made her feel insecure in herself because of where she's been, which I'll do another episode on her, which kind of brought out that fear in her, which made her retract, like step back, which in most situations I would tell people, yeah, if you're dating someone and it feels like you're having to push for things, maybe giving them the space so that they can make up their mind is a good idea. But I think because there were two people that she had interest in, she was very drawn to what she wanted to hear. So she was going for what she wanted to hear, which when you look at Sam and compare Sam and Benaiah, Sam was very much future focused. Benaiah was very much in the present, but his present was also being informed very much from his past. Like, you could see that he wasn't committing because he didn't want to get hurt, but at the same time, he knew that he had to be in the present moment rather than being solely informed by his past. Whereas Sam, we didn't see much of him being in the present. It was very much him being in the past or future, but mostly in the future, which Nicole wanted to hear more about the future. She wanted to hear what kind of life they would have and not focus so much on what he was saying in the here and now. Because even in the here and now, when she said to Sam, I love you, he says, I think I love you. And then I think when he said that, she realized, oh, this is not it. And her body language was telling me, this is like, she knew in her head, but because she really wanted to get married, and wanted to go through the process, she said yes, because she was like, this is it. And she kept on saying it from the very first episode that she had with him, very first date that she had with Sam. There was very much I feel like you're telling me all the things I want to hear, but she wasn't questioning what he was saying, which maybe was because her need to feel wanted or needed was being met. She overlooked all the things that could be wrong with that picture that was being painted. But with Benaiah, we had him being so fearful of making a mistake and it going wrong that he didn't make a decision, whereas Nicole needed, because she needed to feel secure, she needed someone to make a decision, and she wasn't going to make that decision. So when Sam made the decision for her, it was kind of like, okay, that's fine. Someone's made the decision for me. I don't need to make it. And I think that kind of behavior comes from also wanting to please people, because throughout the show with Nicole, we see her struggling with trying to see the best in people at all times when people are telling you around you, this isn't it, this isn't it, this isn't it. But she wanted to believe the best in Sam, which I totally understand, because if you have a connection with someone, you want to see, you're kind of love blind and everything. And someone said this, which made me think, oh, I'm not sure if it was from the reunion. I can't remember where I saw it, but when I remember, I'll caption it. But it was, they said, if you're wearing rose tinted glasses, everything you see is going to be red. So I was just like, oh, that's so true, because everything is rosy. You think everything is rosy. Even the red flags seem rosy. So that was a very interesting dynamic that she had. And it made me realize that she really does want to get married and really does want to find love and start building her life the way she wanted. But she was also scared that someone won't pick her. So it made it seem like fear had taken over the process rather than her going with her gut instinct and working with her body and feeling how she felt with things, because her body was giving her so many signals. She was also speaking to Jasmine, she spoke to Benaiah about Sam, which were giving her signals, but she just blocked them out. And I like watching it back, obviously we don't know what happened, but like when things were filmed and stuff and the order of how it was filmed, but we do know that these conversations happened at some point, which informed her on her decision. So we don't know what other conversations she had with Sam that informed those decisions. All we can base it on is what we've seen as viewers, and everything we were seeing as viewers is Sam is in. It looked like from our point of view that Sam was here to be the villain of the show this year, and he was also here to just tell people what they wanted to hear so he could be in a position to gain love, because he was lacking that, because he says it over and over again. But Nicole's fear of not wanting to be alone and wanting to belong was intensified when Benaiah didn't commit. So when he didn't commit, she felt the fear of being alone and decided, nah, this is not it. We're gonna stick with someone who actually is saying that they want to be with me rather than someone who isn't sure about me. And that core belief comes from, oh, I'm not good enough. Which is the same core belief that Benaiah probably has with the fear of commitment. Because when you think about fear of commitment, the reason why someone doesn't commit is because they're scared that something is going to happen, or they're going to do something to sabotage it, or they won't be able to manage what's going on. Because he does say in the reunion, it was just too good to be true. If someone says it's too good to be true, a lot of the time they feel like they're not deserving of receiving that good, if it is good to be true. Because there was no signs to divert his attention from Nicole, because they were so well matched in the sense of the way they were being with each other and the kinds of lifestyles that they wanted, as well as how they saw life and their values. It was well matched, but he gave himself that out by saying it's too good to be true, which made him rethink a lot of things. But I think when he realized what he had lost, when he had said yes to Sam, he realized, oh crap, it hurts more for me to lose something I really, really value than me not having it at all and not experiencing it for as long as I could have. So like, yes, we could end up breaking up at some point, but the fact that I've experienced this person for a period of time would have been nicer than losing them before I've even had that experience, which made it very easy for him to say yes to Nicole after Nicole broke up with Sam, because he wanted to say yes, but he just he got beaten to it before, because Sam asked Nicole before he did, which I also found out from the interviews after, that all the engagements happened on the same day, even though it looks like they happen at different times of the things. No, they all happen on the same day. So a lot of people kind of know, oh, actually, my competition is still around. If they are still in the pod on that day, that means that they're also going to ask someone to commit or to get engaged to. So you know who your competition is when you're there, which is a very interesting concept. But as I said, we're not going to get into like the Love is Blind production side, but it is very interesting. I might do another episode on that, because when I was doing some more research, I found out a few things, and really enjoyed actually watching the different parts, which was amazing. But yeah, so let's go back to Benaiah, Sam and Nicole. Their fears were all evident in this episode, and we could see that Benaiah, his fears was commitment. Nicole's fear was the fear of not belonging, and Sam's fear was the fear of not being accepted. And I think when Benaiah also showed a bit of himself when he tried to stand up for Nicole at the party, when Sam when he went up to Sam and was like, I didn't really appreciate that dynamic between you and Nicole. Some people were like, oh, this is a bit of controlling behaviour. I think because his fear is the fear of commitment, I think when he does commit, he's very protective of what he does commit to, and wants to kind of protect what he has, which can have its downsides, don't get me wrong, but I think from what we were watching from the whole scenario, he was very alarmed that Nicole hadn't seen this part of Sam and wasn't accepting of what he was saying, which made him feel less than, because I'm telling you something I know is true, but you're not believing me. So does that mean you don't trust me? Does that mean like my word isn't true? But obviously Nicole has only known this guy for 10 days in the pods. They've been on the retreat together and they're living together, but there's not enough information for her to trust, because trust is built over time. Which she's already been burnt by Sam in this process for trusting the future that he has painted for her, but still doesn't know like if she can like fully give all her trust to Benaiah, because they haven't been together long enough, which is totally understandable. So I can see both sides for Benaiah and for Nicole, and it's interesting to see how now that they've seen everything, they're like so in tune with each other. And this is also a year after the whole fact of them filming and living together and getting to know each other on a deeper level with no noise. It's built that relationship and that trust with them. So I think it's very nice to see how their relationship will flourish from now on, and how the noise from outside could also be could also kind of get in the way, but it seems like they're not allowing that to happen now that they've kind of built that foundation, whereas before, the noise outside, which is fairly obvious because you don't trust the person that much, so all the noise outside will also rock you. But yeah, it's been, their relationship has been a really interesting one, and a lot of people are saying it's like the Bliss and Zach story, but I think it's a little bit different because you could really see Benaiah's commitment issues. You could see Nicole's fear of not belonging, So you could see those two fears and how they, like, when they're both in the room, can kind of create create stories that aren't really facts, but can really bounce off of each other and kind of give each other more fuel to their fire. But with Zach and Bliss was very secure in the sense of, I'm just going to be happy if he's happy, and just let it go and let it be, and really believe that what is meant to be will be. So that because of that, it kind of made it, okay, that's cool. Let's just go from there and see how. Whereas Nicole, instead of that, it felt like she went into panic mode and picked the next best thing, because she had two options. And I wonder if Bliss had two options, if she would go for the second, but it seemed like Bliss was very sure that Zach was her match and fully depended on that match, whereas Bliss didn't have that. So we'll see. Like, I don't feel like they're the same storyline, because it is interesting. But hey ho, maybe if you have any ideas or any comments on the Bliss and Zach comparison to Nicole and Benaiah, please put in the notes. Let's have a chat about it, because I would really want to know how you guys feel about that connection. But yeah, since I know I said I started this video with just it being Benaiah and then kind of went to Nicole, because I feel like you can't talk about Benaiah without talking about Nicole and Sam, because they're all connected and they're all part of the story. But yeah, I also want to mention about Benaiah reporting back to Nicole what he heard about Sam. From his reaction, I know that he's someone who likes what people say. Like, he also wants to see the best in people, and also doesn't want to be the bad guy. So he tried to keep himself like neutral in the situation, but when he started to feel more feelings towards Nicole, he felt like he had the duty to kind of tell Nicole. But he didn't, the way he delivered it was, I've made the conclusion that he's here for clout, but didn't kind of give her the reasons as to why I think he's here for clout. It was kind of like, trust me, he's here for clout, leave him alone. Whereas she's like, I'm not getting that, so I'm gonna stick with what I know and feel. So I feel like if he had given solid evidence, like he said, blah, 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 she would have had evidence to take back to Sam when she does have that conversation as to what is the reason you're here, what is the real reason for you to be here. If she had had that conversation, then they would have moved. She would have had more information to make a more convincing decision on how things are going. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think and we can go from there. But I love having these conversations about Love is Blind, because there's so much to talk about, and I'm really looking forward to kind of getting you guys' perspective on this as well. So if you do have any comments or ideas, please put it in the comments and we will have a chat about it. On that note, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Just want to say a big thank you if you did make it to the end of this video. If you did, put a thumbs up in the comments and I'll give you a shout out in the next episode. Take care, guys. Bye.